jump into, what is cognitive behavioural therapy. I reference this, so I'm going to just reference it off here, but if I could say it, so all you're doing with cognitive behavioural therapy is you're changing the way that you think and feel for a better life. You're stopping certain triggers that cause you to possibly go off the rails, and you're starting to identify your own behaviours, and that's going to help you change the way that you think and feel. There's techniques that you can use to have an instant change into your life if you suffer from anxiety or depression, and they are super helpful, and CBT's helped me quite a bit in my journey in life so far. So cognitive behavioural therapy is an effective treatment approach for a range of mental health and emotional health issues, including anxiety, depression, and you also do have OCD as well. The main aim of CBT is to help a person identify, challenge unhelpful thoughts, and learn practical self-help strategies, which is huge. If you can help yourself, then you can grow and you can keep moving forward. No one wants to be helpless. We all need to know how to challenge and tackle these obstacles that we do face. So these strategies are designed to bring about positive and immediate changes, which is huge. Stop going to a counter to get your medication when you can instantly change. It's going to help you have more control over your general emotions as well, which is a big one because a lot of people don't really have any emotional mastery. So with this, it can be beneficial to anyone who needs support to challenge unhelpful thoughts that are preventing them from reaching their goals or just living their life they want to live. Techniques can help with changing the way we think and feel to help actually achieve our goals by identifying our triggers to stop self-sabotaging habits. So now I'm going to go over a big one that I don't think a lot of people know. It's called cognitive distortions. So these are negative things that they call it faulty thinking that may be holding us back. So we've got filtering, which is focusing solely on the negative and ignoring all the positive, which we can all be quite guilty for at times. I'm 100% sure you are. If you're watching this, you've done it before. Polarized thinking, so black and white thinking, not seeing the grey, so there's nothing in between, it's this way or that way. You've got overgeneralization, assuming all experiences and people are the same based on one negative experience. You've now created a stereotype for a certain experience or person, and now that's that, and no one's gonna be different. That experience is not gonna be different. It's always gonna be bad, but really it's not. You can't just put a label on one thing and expect it all to be the same. Jumping to conclusions, absolutely, you have been bad for it. Being convinced of something with little to no evidence to support it. Catastrophizing. Can't pronounce it, but that's alright. Assuming the worst case scenario and magnifying the negative and minimizing the positive. So you're instantly not even looking at the positive anymore, and you're just looking at the negative, because the negative thing is the thing that you're attracted to realistically. As humans do, love drama. So keeping in mind that you need to keep a balance of positive and negative, but having a real awareness of not going down the road of going down that negative route, because then you'll just get overwhelmed and start thinking about the bad sides. You have personalization, so believing that you are at least partially responsible for everything bad that happens to you. Control fallacy, so thinking everything that happens to you is either all your fault or not your fault at all. Fallacy of fairness, being too concerned over whether everything is fair. Don't expect the world to work in your order. Just because Sally got an ice cream and you didn't doesn't mean that you still deserve an ice cream. You've got blaming, pointing to others when looking for a cause at any negative experience event instead of looking at yourself. So stop blaming other people when you are responsible. Shoulds, holding tight to your personal rules on how people ought to behave. Your expectation of someone else should not That should not be an expectation you have. Just because someone acts in a certain way doesn't mean it's any of your business. So stop getting caught up in the little things. Emotional reasoning, believing if I feel it, it must be true. You're not. Yes, I believe in gut instinct, but it's not always going to be that way. So you can't expect everything to be true in a certain way. So you're not always right. You need to understand what's actually happening. Then we have fallacy of change. So expecting others to change to suit your needs or desires. Huge one you'll see in relationships. Someone will instantly change the way that they are as a person to suit that other person in the relationship, which is fucking horrendous. You should not change who you are as a person, because then you have just changed your own values and belief system to suit someone else. If that person loves you or likes you, they will understand that that's who you are. You should never change who you are for someone else to suit someone else. If you have an expectation for someone to change in a relationship, to suit your lifestyle, that's fucking horrendous. Don't ever try and change someone to make your life easier or suit your needs more. It's not right. You've just taken away that person's opportunity to be the best that they can be, because you now put a limitation on how good they can be as a person or what direction they can follow. It's just it's just not the right way to go about it. Be who you are, let them be who they are. And just remember that you're independent, because the biggest thing is, if you're not independent and you're not happy yourself, you've got this expectation instantly that you're going to get happiness from them, and then they need to change and follow you around. So that's a big one. Global labeling, mislabeling, generalization, generalizing one or two instances into an overall judgment, using aggravated and emotionally loaded language. Always being right, believing that it is absolutely unacceptable to be wrong. We always know, we know plenty of people like that. There's always someone who thinks they're always right. Don't be that person. Student mentality all the time. Reward fallacy. So believing that any good act on your part will be repaid or rewarded. You can't do something good for someone else and expect to get something back. That's not right. Do something because it's good. Do something because it's nice, but don't do it with the intention that you're getting something out of it. And then we've got our CVD techniques to rewire and reset your brain. So there's a few things. These are mainly based on anxiety and depression, OCD kind of thing, but you can use these at times to reset yourself. So journaling, unraveling cognitive distortions, cognitive restructuring, exposure response prevention, interoceptive exposure, nightmare exposure, and re-scripting. Play the script until the end, progressive muscle relaxation, and relaxed breathing. Journaling can be a great way to identify and reflect on the moods or the way that you've been thinking and feeling that day, so that you can identify how you've been feeling, and then you can think, why was I feeling that way? And then you can start to change that way that you're thinking and feeling, and write some constructive criticism on how you can improve as a person. Unraveling cognitive distortions, so becoming aware of the distortions that you are likely vulnerable to, identifying what it is and which distortion that you are holding. Cognitive restructuring, challenge your harmful or destructive beliefs and restructure them. So if you have a really bad, horrible belief like you're always right, well, it's time to accept and understand that you're not always right and that you have a lot to learn. And start to think in that process like, yes, I need to learn more, because I'm always learning as a person. I am not always right. I may be right at times, but most of the time I am in a student mentality and I will continue to learn and grow. We've got our exposure and response prevention. Expose yourself to whatever it is that normally provokes a compulsive behavior. It could be drinking. You have a severe drinking problem like I did when I was younger, and that was my trigger to be compulsive. So taking away that trigger and replacing it with something else that is a positive, or just detaching yourself from that completely. Interoceptive exposure yourself to sensations you're afraid of and recognize they are not dangerous, which is huge. Nightmare exposure and re-scripting. Identify emotion caused by a nightmare and cultivate a new emotion to replace it. So the best way to explain that is a worst case scenario, thinking the worst case and then re-scripting yourself so that you can kind of identify that it's not as bad as you actually think. Play the script until the end, which can be a huge one. So that would mean more or less that if you've got a feeling like, oh, if I do this, this is going to happen, or if I take a chance, this is going to happen. Well, if you take the chance and you play the whole script out and you say, oh, well, worst case, this happens, then you know what's going to happen and it's not as bad as you thought. So playing the script so that you're not creating unnecessary anxiety. Progressive muscle relaxation. Relaxing each muscle in your body at a time until you've got a full body of relaxation. Breathing, relaxed breathing, so bringing regularity to breathing in a more controlled environment, slowing your heart rate down and just relaxing.